James with Turnkey Home Inspections. We are performing a sewer lateral inspection for the purchase of the property. We started off in the basement. We entered the main stack, 4-inch PVC. We did reach the city main at approximately 75 feet. Here's your connection right here. There's your city main where you see this water run right here. This sewer lateral inspection is taking place after the home inspection. During the home inspection, we did run a good amount of water. So there was no, pipe was not holding water at any spot. So that is indication that we don't have a belly, and all the water is flowing and is making it to the city main. We're going to pull back now and describe conditions. Right here, this is a 6-inch clay pipe. And then we do eventually transition into cast iron. So these pipes would be original to the home. We do have some minor root intrusion at some of these connections in the clay, which is common. It's just recommended to have the line cleaned up every few years. Probably don't need to do it on an annual basis. It doesn't seem to be much of a problem. So you're probably fine right now. You probably don't need to get it cleaned up right now, but maybe a couple of years from now, have it inspected, cleaned up, see how advanced the roots are at that point. That might give you an idea of how often you will need to have it cleaned. So here's the worst spot you have with the roots. And I don't think this is going to cause any blockages at this time. But I mean, if this potentially, if this goes neglected, this could eventually cause a blockage. So, I mean, you're maybe at like a 15% right here with the roots. So I still will classify this as minor. But yeah, I would say come back, and because they might have had this cleaned up a year ago, and that's why we, we're only at 15%, or this hasn't been cleaned up in 10 years, or it's never been cleaned up. So if they're getting it cleaned up every year and you already have this, this much roots in there, it might be a yearly cleanup type deal. But if I had to guess, you probably aren't gonna have to address this on an annual basis. But just to be safe, I would have this looked at again in about a year and have it cleaned up, kind of see where you stand. So this is where you transition from the clay line to the cast iron. See, the cast iron has a rougher feel, a rougher look. This has some scaling. Scaling can sometimes hide defects. There are some areas on the pipe that look like the scaling is starting to chip away. It also looks like that breaking away. Could be some small hairline cracks starting to develop. I'll point those out to you when we get there. I like to take it real slow when we get into this cast iron. Try to make sure we're not missing anything. Right there on the top right, to me that looks like it's just scaling starting to break away, but behind that scaling there could be a small hairline crack starting to develop. That's not going to affect the performance of the pipe at this time, but like I said, when you come back in a year from now, or like I'm recommending about a year from now, have the line cleaned up and then have it re-inspected, and you can get a better idea of the condition of the pipe. Even at the bottom right, it also looks like scaling starting to chip away. So you just do have some I'd say moderate scaling. Wouldn't classify it as light or heavy, but fairly typical. But if you did have this cleaned up, it does help you better determine the condition of the pipe. And you do have, it is starting to trench just a little bit here at the bottom. You can see how they have this little channel that's starting to develop at the bottom, which is pretty common for this type of pipe and the age. So I would still classify that as minor to moderate, the channeling there at the bottom. Maybe on the top right again, it looks like looks like maybe a small crack or just the scaling starting to break away again. We tie into another portion of the line right there, so we don't see all the underground. Or so the cast iron, when we transition into cast iron, that's when we're underneath the basement slab. So, and we don't typically get to see all the line underneath the basement slab. We just kind of do the main run. There's another tie-in right there. So we come in the main stack here in a second. Main stack, like I said, is PVC. Probably would have originally been a cast iron that has been replaced at some point. So that's good. So this is where we went in right here. Here's the basement. So just kind of recap, we got small or light roots into clay, transition into cast iron. Got some trenching in the bottom of the pipe, classify that as minor to moderate, and then got some scaling with possibility of some small hairline cracks. Recommend that all get cleaned up, and then in about a year or so, get those roots cleaned up, get that scaling cleaned up, and have the pipe re-inspected. That does complete the inspection. Thank you.